Tom Davis, joined now by Eddie Matz, ESPN.com, covers the Orioles and the Nationals on a regular basis. Now, Eddie, the Orioles are a fastball hitting team. How does that bode well or not against this Nationals pitching staff?
Yeah, I think it's going to work out well for them against the Nationals. You know, the Nationals rotation is one of the best in baseball. They got Max Scherzer. They had Steven Strasburg, although he's on the DL. But Tanner Roark, Scherzer, they've got the rookie Reynaldo Lopez. Those guys are all fastball-heavy pitchers. Major league average is about 52% fastballs. All those guys are above that. Roark is at 62%. Lopez at 59, Scherzer at 56. So those guys lean on the fastball. For a team like the Orioles that has trouble with the off-speed stuff, it could play right into their hand. They're hitting 298 against fastballs this year with an 855 OPS. That's way better than the league average. And when it comes to the soft stuff, they pretty much do right about league average. They're hitting 221. So the pitchers that the Nationals are going to run out there are probably going to be throwing a lot of fastballs. In addition, they've got A.J. Cole coming up tonight instead of Strasburg. And A.J. Cole is a guy who, even though he's fourth-round pick, he's got a pretty high pedigree and he's done pretty well in the minors. You have to assume that making a major league start for the first time in a while, I'm not sure if he's ever started a game, but you can imagine he's going to, one game, he's probably going to lean pretty heavily on the fastball as well. So I think that'll bode well for the Orioles.
Now, when you look at this Orioles-Nationals matchup here, basically here in Baltimore for the first two games of the series, it seems like, you know, Monday's Major League Baseball teams don't draw that well. They always draw better toward the weekend, but it looks like a nice crowd's building for this between the two cities.
Yeah, I was just down on the field before I came back up here, and I saw a lot of red shirts. Of course, that was behind the Nationals dugout, so that's a little self-selecting because anyone who comes from D.C. is going to do that. Although I actually saw somebody I know locally in Baltimore, a kid that I know plays baseball with my son. He had a National shirt on.
Oh.
So, you know, you get all kinds. But look, I mean, the way the Orioles have been drawing, which is not quite what you would expect in a pennant race. You know, the weather's been good. The kids are not back in school, and they're still, you know, high 20s, low 30s, unless it's a weekend game. You know, it'll be nice to see. I'm sure it's going to be a nice, robust crowd tonight. And even if some of that is Nationals, I think they'll take it. It should create an exciting atmosphere.
Now, Eddie covers both teams, and of course, the Nationals. Bryce Harper was the MVP in the National League last year, but his numbers are off quite a bit. But recently, he's been doing a little bit better. Why?
Yeah, well, he was hurt for, we don't know how long he was hurt. You know, he went out for 5 games with what they were calling a stiff neck. There was a report that injury had been lingering for a couple months prior to that. The Nationals and general manager Mike Rizzo denied that report. So that's a little bit of he said, she said. But what we do know is that since coming back, he's looked like a completely different hitter, which is to say he looks like the same Bryce Harper that we knew from last season when he won the MVP and became the youngest unanimous MVP in the history of the game. So since then, 8 games, he's 12 for 30, hitting 400. He's got 3 doubles, 2 homers. That might not sound like a lot, but 5 extra base hits in 8 games for a guy who had 5 extra base hits in all of July. Is a lot. Now, the caveat there is he did it. Those 8 games are 5 against the Braves and 3 against Colorado in the Rockies. So, with all due respect to you and I could probably get 5 extra base hits against the Rockies and the Braves. So it'll be interesting to see how he does here, especially because he does not have good career numbers against the Orioles or at Camden Yards.
Now, many feel that 2 of the top 5 players in baseball, Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, and they're both going to be obviously in this game. Do you feel the same way that they're 2 of the best players right now in the game?
You know, it's interesting you asked that. If you had asked me maybe at the end of April, beginning of May, even later in May, I would have said yes. But with the struggles that Harper has had over the last couple months, it's hard to put him in that category. You've got so many good young players in the game, Machado being one of them. You know, you've got guys like Chris Bryant, Nolan Arenado, Jose Altuve. There's so many good young players. You know, if Bryant gets back to the form or if Harper gets back to the form that we know, sure, you throw him in that conversation. Manny, I would definitely put in that conversation, mostly because of what he does defensively. You know, Harper's a right fielder. He's got a great arm, but as an outfielder, most of the time when the ball's hit, you either know it's going to be a hit or it's going to be an out. Whereas when it's at third base, where Machado is, it feels like half the time you never know, right? He makes these amazing plays. So I just feel like Machado's defensive impact is so much greater than Harper's. Now, you know, if Harper's hitting 330 like he did last year with 40 homers, then we can throw him back in the top 5 conversation. But right now, the way he's been playing over the last few months, I would not include him there.
Always a pleasure to have Eddie Matz on. Check him out, ESPN.com, for the latest information on the Orioles and the Nationals.